Welcome to the Gaming Coop, the best space to talk about sneaky hits. Let's introduce today's players. Player 1 is into BDSP. It's Matt. Player 2 is a delicious snack loved by a Bug's version of Winnie the Pooh. It's Ant Honey. Players 3 and 4. Chris, the Baby, a fantasy novel. In a desk there lived a cursed fake baby named Chris. Not a dirty, sunny, wide desk filled with stones and a fragile smell, nor yet a scrawny, brown, slimy desk with nothing in it to sit down or to eat. It was a baby desk, and that means comfort. One day, after a troubling visit from the hamster Walsh, Chris leaves his desk and sets out in search of 3 happy kidneys, a quest undertaken in the company of people, orcs, and industrial pigs. In the search for the hamster-guarded kidneys, Chris surprises even himself with his intellect and skill as a bookkeeper. During his travels, Chris rescues a sword, an heirloom belonging to Walsh. But when Walsh refuses to try blue cheese, their friendship is over. However, Walsh is wounded at the Battle of Hastings, and the two reconcile just before Chris engages in some serious Cyber Monday shopping. Chris accepts as one of the 3 happy kidneys and returns home to his desk, a very wealthy baby. It's Walsh and Chris!
Was that a fucking, Mad Libs?
I don't know. And player 5. Oh, you're a villain all right, just not a super one. Yeah, what's the difference? Presentation! It's Kelsey.
That's from some Pixar film.
Incorrect.
Oh, really? I thought it was maybe
Yeah.
Walsh, because Walsh does that.
It is. It's from Megamind.
I don't even know what is that?
It's
a DreamWorks movie with Will Ferrell, the guy with the giant blue head.
Oh, I never saw it, but I do know what you're referring to. Okay.
Yes.
I apologize for misaligning.
That's okay.
And yes, it was a Mad Lib.
I can't tell you how close I was to making today's mid-segment a Mad Lib. I'm not kidding.
I would have been so ready.
Wait, so did you and Anthony joint write Chris and Walsh's?
No, I just wrote Chris and Walsh's. So originally Chris fucked up is what happened. Chris fucked up big time. And I came to his rescue, and now everything's fine.
Wait,
okay.
When you say big time makes it sound like I was like...
Oh, it was a disaster. It was a disaster.
Yeah, like the fire was burning in my household.
He was inconsolable.
Yeah.
We're never going to recover.
Ever. We've recovered slightly.
It was...
Chris now is home as a very wealthy baby with his single happy kidney, and Walsh still refuses to try blue cheese, so it's fine.
Yeah. Walsh, do you actually like blue cheese? I'm curious.
I do. I have one more question, though.
Yeah.
I guess to both transition to also be like, what the fuck? Did you say the best place to talk about sneaky hits?
Yeah, sneaky hits. I guess...
Is that not the assignment you received?
So sneaky hits. I'm talking about games that we may think are hits, but they fall under the radar. They're underrated games. And that's what today's subject is going to be. So basically, with the award season beginning to start, everyone talking about Game of the Year, all that bullshit. It's nice to talk about the games that don't get the recognition, that don't really get to be talked about amongst the pantheon of many of the great games that usually happen on a year-to-year basis. And games that just generally get lost in the conversation of what are like the best things that we have ever enjoyed playing. And we have in front of us 5 games that we think deserve a little bit more credit than they have gotten. So let's get started. So today's actually, when we're recording this, was the release of speaking of BDSP, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, was released today. But we're gonna talk about a different Pokemon game. Let's start with Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. Matt, talk about that game, please.
Yeah, so people who know me know that I am a big fan of the Mystery Dungeon series. Pokemon in general, but the Mystery Dungeon series has a very special place in my favorite games, just because it is a very unique series, a very unique take on Pokemon that is more of a dungeon. It's what if Pokemon was a dungeon crawler instead of a turn-based RPG. The obvious star of the Mystery Dungeon series is of course Explorers, the Explorers games, Time, Darkness, and Sky. But for a while, Super Mystery Dungeon was actually my favorite. Super Mystery Dungeon came out at a bit of an interesting time. All the way from 2013 with the release of Pokemon X and Y through, I guess, Sword and Shield in 2019. Yeah, 2019. There's been a Pokemon game that's released in the fall, and mainly on Thanksgiving. The one exception was Super Mystery Dungeon, which was the 2015 game. Every other game that came out in that span was a main series, so this one, it was kind of like, hey, this is the Pokemon game for the year, even though Game Freak didn't develop it. Basically, basic lowdown of the Mystery Dungeon series is you are a human who wakes up in the body of a Pokemon, and you have to essentially save the world. And the fact that you are a human often plays into that. Super Mystery Dungeon is kind of like a love letter to the entire series. It has a lot of references to the 3 past games. It has a lot of different things that really just that it works the best if you play the other games in the series, and that's, I think, the best way I can explain it. The reason why it's, I think, a little more on the underrated side compared to most other games is it's got a bit of a it's got a really slow start. Mystery Dungeon games often measure their progress by the number of bosses you've defeated, and the game has 8 major bosses, and it doesn't really truly feel like you are starting the capital T, capital G, the game, until you get to boss 5. So
how many bosses?
Out of 8.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty far.
Yeah. So it feels like a while before you're actually like in the meat of it. So that's kind of part of the reason why I think it's not quite as loved as a lot of other ones, but I really enjoy it. And there's there are a few plot moments I want to talk about just because it's the game itself means a lot to me. So another draw of the Mystery Dungeon games is you are the human, and then you always have a partner Pokemon who is a Pokemon, and they kind of help you whether it's join a guild, start whatever. They are. Almost feels like your partner character is the protagonist, and you're kind of like along for the ride sometimes, is what it feels like in some games. But in other games, you are the main character. And I really think that in Super Mystery Dungeon, the partner character is the main character. Even though you don't control them, the narrative, the story is all around them. And it's been interesting looking back on this because I've had a different perspective on the partner character in general after having become a teacher, because the partner character, you start out, the first few chapters are take place in a school, basically. You go to class, you have some classmates, and then you kind of grow up and move on to the Adventurers Guild in the second half of the game. So it's like you're with your childhood friends in the first half, you grow up, you move on to bigger and better places in the second half. I like that theme a lot. But in the beginning, your partner is essentially the quote-unquote problem child. They like to act out, they get in trouble a lot. A lot of the other adults in the village think that they're annoying, a lot of the kids think they're annoying, that kind of deal. So, and you are really the first true friend that they're able to have, which is really significant and really, like, deepens that bond. And you meet on one of the places that you talk a lot about and get your scarves, which is like the big thing in Mystery Dungeon. It's like, hey, you get to dress up in a scarf or a bandana or whatever else, and that's your guild thing. Like you put on the scarf, you made it. So you meet on a hill, and this very beautiful partner theme plays. Da 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 da. I
just want to acknowledge real quick that
yeah.
I feel like I just enjoy the fact that it feels like every episode now there's always like a part in your explaining where it does descend into you talk about the music, which I like though. I like that part of it. But I just think it's very funny.
It's important to the narrative, which is why I'm talking. about
No, I know. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. So that hill, that tree. I almost talked about this for one of the music episodes, by the way.
Yes.
With the soundtrack. So on that hill, you hear that theme. You make that bond. It's a hill overlooking the village. There's a single tree there, and that becomes such a important location for you and your partner's friendship. After you go through the whole plot, and this is going to get into plot spoilers. So I would skip ahead a little bit if you don't want to be spoiled on Super Mystery Dungeon. I don't think anyone in here minds that, but if you are my co-hosts, if you do not want to be spoiled, I suggest you take out your headphones now, but I don't think that applies to anyone here.
No.
So you go through everything, and you learn some things, some plot specific things. And the thing about past Mystery Dungeon games is this is how it always works. The plot is set up to where you are a human. So when your journey is done, you need to return to the human world and say goodbye. And it's always a very big emotional moment when that happens, because you just spent a 20-hour game getting super close to your partner. In the real game, it feels like months that you have been you've developing this super, super tight, super close friendship, and then you have to say goodbye to them.
I'm tearing up. Why do they have to do that?
It's because it's good storytelling. They end up usually at the after the credits, they find a way for you to come back in so you can keep playing the game. You can do the post game and all that. But in Super Mystery Dungeon, because like I said, as I said, it works best when you play past Mystery Dungeon games. So you beat the final boss, which has one of the best final boss themes out there, and even has that little quote I said earlier in it, but it's electric guitar going in the middle of this huge orchestral, super hard hitting song, and it's super cool. You defeat them, you go back to your village, and throughout the game you've been listening to a lot of things, and you've been hearing about the past, and a really important Pokemon in the past named Mew, who had a human partner. And you discover that you were that human, and your partner was Mew. And in order to save the darkness, you agree to erase both your memories. And essentially, I guess I forget the specifics, but you time travel to the future in order to be able to defeat the darkness. And once that's done, your partner has remembered that they are Mew, and they have to leave.
Wow!
And the credits roll with you sitting on the hill after your partner has left you.
Why is everybody so invested in fucking kids up?
I don't know.
That is wild.
That ending subversion of hey, you're usually the one, you as the human are the one who leaves your partner. The ending subversion of your partner leaves you fucked me up so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It is a truly underrated story. It does start slowly. But if you are a Mystery Dungeon fan, it is a love letter to the series. I hope they make more. I hope they remake Explorers for the Switch like they did with Rescue Team. But Super Mystery Dungeon just doesn't get talked about as much as I believe it should, which is why I wanted to bring it to the table here.
When did it come out?
2015.
Okay.
Yeah, it was right at the middle of the 3DS era.
Yeah, and also fun fact, this came out the week before, so I beat this game in a hotel room the night before I marched in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Oh, wow.
I beat it at 11 p.m. I had to wake up at 3 a.m. to do the parade.
Oh my gosh.
But I was that engrossed in the end of this fucking story that I couldn't put it down.
And you were normally quite strict about your bedtime, so that is how we know.
College was less so, but yes.
Oh, you were wild in college. You saw 1 a.m. a few times.
I do actually remember that, because I remember I was really like, I was so excited about you being over nearby to us, because we're not necessarily like, we're like an hour or two out from the city, but
right,
you know, but we end up it was like the first time that you were over here, and we were so I remember actually to communicate with you. I do remember, now that you bring that up, that being like something that we were talking about while you were hanging out in the city.
Yep.
This game, literally, that's all I ever hear about, is how heartbreaking the story is constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've never been super into, you know, Pokemon games. I have a bunch of them because I've always wanted to give them a fair shot and try to get through them. I just never could. But the Mystery Dungeon games always were very interesting in the fact that they were very story driven. They were so different gameplay wise, because they were dungeon crawlers instead of, you know, the typical turn based RPG. And it was very interesting spin-off of a franchise that is probably the most beloved in the world in terms of video games. And this game, it definitely did not get a lot of attention, or when it did, it just didn't get a lot of great attention. But I always remember you talking about this game as being just something that hit so hard and so well on the story front. And I love when games can do that, especially games that are, you know, yes, they are for a younger audience in a sense, but yeah, that just hit you on such an emotional level. It probably does screw people up, but but it's probably, you know, but it probably does it in the best way possible.
Absolutely.
And just telling a great story and making you remember it for years to come. Any other thoughts on Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon?
Did you cry?
I did not in this one. Other Mystery Dungeon games have made me cry. I think this one I was tired. It was 11 p.m. But if I had allowed myself to, I probably would have.
The tears have already dried out.
Yeah.
By that point. Yeah.
I just thought I'd ask like the most like little shit question, like
the
did
other
you cry?
the other Gates to Infinity, which is often considered the worst Mystery Dungeon game, and I usually tend to agree with that. I played through it twice. It made me cry both times.
So what one thing that I feel like, regardless of the quality of the gameplay, it always seems like the story is just, it's there. Like the writers know what they're doing, even if it's not going to be a wow gameplay experience.
They get you attached to your partner so fucking hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only game that doesn't do that is Rescue Team, and they do that pretty well. But it's not like it is such a devotion's not the right word, but such a deep connection that you get with your partner. It's amazing how well they write it and how well the partner character works, no matter what Pokemon they are, because they can be you can play as, I didn't mention this, you can play as like 20 different Pokemon in Super, and your partner can be any of the others as well. So it's just like the character is always extremely solid.
It on a tame level, it reminds me a little bit of the Earth when Gabe talks about like Earthbound and the Mother series as a whole. Like in terms of like those are RPGs that are cute looking, but will just completely destroy your soul.
Yeah.
I guess Nintendo is just very good at that. Who develops Mystery Dungeon?
I forget who developed Super Mystery Dungeon. The previous games of the series were Spike Chunsoft, which are the people who made Danganronpa.
Oh, fucking of course, then. Jesus Christ. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Spike Chun. Yeah, that's who did Super Mystery Dungeon, is Spike Chunsoft, looks like.
Oh, yeah, Spike Chunsoft did Super as well, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go.
Dang Rappa, goddamn. All right, let's move on from that from sad Pokemon to happy gnomes. At least I think they're happy, mining and grinding away.
They're not gnomes, I don't think.
Deep Rock Galactic. Anthony, go ahead.
Rock and Stone.
Yes.
All right. So, Deep Rock Galactic is an indie game, published by an indie publisher. And as soon as I saw it at E3 one year, I was like, "Holy crap, that looks amazing!" Like the graphic style is kind of like, I'd say it's kind of geometric. Like it uses kind of like low polygonal art styles, at least compared to most games today. And it has a big emphasis on like, heavy industrial machinery. So the gist of the game is that you can play either solo or on a 4-person team, and you are a dwarf that works at a interstellar mining corporation. And management and the company are like the absolute worst like that capitalism could create. And they just send you guys into these bug-infested caverns to mine materials, and sometimes you die, and it's a write-off to management. And it's kind of funny in that way. But this game is really something special. The community is awesome. Everybody is just so much fun. I was actually afraid to play with random people for a while because in games where you have specific objectives that you have to do, it can be really scary to play with random people, but the community is awesome and just really wholesome. You actually have a button where you can press it and you can raise your pickaxe and your character yells, "Rock and Stone!" And to date, I have not done that without my teammates also raising their pickaxes and answering with their own salute. And before you go into missions, you're on this kind of like this inner space station mining corporation kind of thing. And it has like a bar and a jukebox and terminals where you can upgrade your weapons and buy beards and mustaches for your dwarf. And by the way, you don't pick any kind of gender for your dwarf because they kind of go with the Tolkien form of the dwarf where it's like nobody can tell the difference between dwarven genders except for dwarves. So everybody has a beard, everybody has a mustache. That's just the way it is. And you can get drinks for your crew before you head down, and all the different drinks have like special effects where they'll make you like explode around the place or become really tiny or really large, and you buy a round for everybody on your team. It's just really wholesome in all these different fun ways. And the mission structure itself, there are different character classes. So you can play as somebody who's a driller, and you have like all these really cool like area of effect weapons that like set enemies on fire or spew out like this toxic goo. Or you can be an engineer who creates these little sentry turrets and like kind of helps the team position. And the mission objectives are all different kinds of mining objectives. So sometimes you're looking for alien eggs and you need to dig through rock for them. Or other times you're just looking for precious minerals. But in every mission type, there usually comes a part where you're swarmed by the main enemy in the game, which are glyphids, these giant bug creatures. And you have to like hold down and keep everybody alive and fight them off for a while. So it's kind of like, they say it's Left 4 Dead inspired because it's you and your team versus the horde, but in my experience, it's a lot more, I guess, lighthearted than a zombie game. You don't really experience failure too often, and it's kind of like, you go at your own pace. It's kind of lighthearted in that way. The reason I think this game is underrated is because it's an indie title. it only saw like a surge of mainstream success recently when it launched its seasonal update. So they added a free battle pass with a bunch of stuff to do. They had a massive sale on the game, so it brought a lot of people in. And as far as I can tell, it's really retaining them too. And that's another thing I want to discuss is in the monetization of it, because unfortunately in this day and age, any kind of game with a battle pass, you kind of worry about what it costs. You know, are they allowing you to pay to rank up faster, that kind of stuff. The game itself is $30, and the battle pass is completely free. You can't even pay to rank up the battle pass, and if you don't get it, you can get the stuff in it later at some other time. So
fantastic.
The community is really glad that, you know, they aren't introducing all this predatory pricing, this kind of fear of missing out, get it now or get it never, that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, it really is just the perfect game to play and wind down, to play with your friends, or to even just play alone if you want to. Yeah, there's really not enough good things that I can say about the game.
Yeah. I will say just out of the gate, because you've talked about it a lot, and I know that you play it a lot with friend of the show Nick, our friend Nick. Even though I don't think he's ever been on a podcast here, but you know, and he and you guys do so many chaotic things that whenever I it's me and Kelsey over a call, Kelsey would tell me like, oh my god, I hear him like cackle laughing from the other room, and it's mostly because you guys are finding something absolutely ridiculous to do in the game.
Oh yeah.
Which is just great. I love games that you can just screw around with, and I actually wanted to also bring up that this was published. This was developed by Ghost Ship Games, and then published by Coffee Stain Studios, who are the people behind Goat Simulator and Satisfactory, and also published the very major acclaimed title Valheim earlier this year, which many people grew attached to there. But I feel like I did not hear about this game until this year, even though it seems like it's been around since 2018 because it's been at least in early access. And it definitely, I feel like I can definitely see myself enjoying some time with it. Probably on like computer, because usually, since it's a first person game, it's probably it's just easier for me to control a first person game on PC. But it definitely, from the little time that I had playing it on console though, it definitely seems like it could be a lot of fun, and it seems like it's a lot of work in terms of like making sure to, you know, mine the right materials and having to deal with like these spider things crawling at you. Like it's a little chaotic and scary on that front, but nothing that isn't like terrible. Like it's really I could definitely see it being like a lot of fun and investing a lot of hours in it. And yeah, I definitely feel like it's not, even though it has apparently won an indie award from South by Southwest, I still feel like it's not being talked about enough, based off of how many players are actively engaged in it.
Oh, and one thing I do have to give them credit for is every week the dev team live streams, and they play the game on the hardest difficulty. So you can be confident that like when they balance weapons, when they balance classes, they are doing it from a perspective of this is a game that they know, a game that they love, and they're not going to do anything that they feel is uncalled for. Just to speak to one of the chaotic things that had me laughing so hard that I had to hold on. I was playing a public game, and we had just finished the mission. We rushed towards the extraction, and the way the extraction works is they call in this ship, bores down into where you are in the caves, and then it opens up. And you and your team have to run inside. So 3 of us got there, and then we were just playing around while waiting for the 4th person. We started taking our grenades and just throwing them outside the ship, like just like being really silly. So my grenades explode, and they send out a bunch of smaller grenades. So I just threw out all 3 of them. And in the middle of them exploding, my 4th teammate runs towards the door and gets caught dead in the middle of this massive cluster bomb. And because there's friendly fire in the game, he instantly died. Now there's one more thing I need to explain. Mission extraction. As a failsafe, if any number of people are alive and ready to extract, if one person is dead, it will leave them behind so that you don't fail the mission. So I watched as I killed my poor teammate literal inches away from the door. And as soon as he hit the ground and called for help, the evacuation ship closed all 3 of its doors, locked him out, and we flew up and away from him to leave him in the caves.
Wow.
Now,
I just picture just the body dropping and then be like, oh, you can't go out, you can't leave because you're just being blasted off.
Ultimately, he was okay because you saw his character like limping towards the camera on like the post-game screen. I could not apologize quickly enough, but I had to tell him I'm so sorry, but I just lost my shit at that.
And like from my perspective, I just suddenly start to hear like guttural shrieking and like the kind of noises. Because when Anthony says I laugh so hard that I had to hold on, he's not kidding. It is like all of a sudden somebody turns off gravity and he needs to literally hold on to whatever's in front of him because he's laughing so hard that he thinks he's going to lose grip on this life. Like it is an insane, intense laughter when chaos erupts. So this game brings him so much joy, and I just listen to the craziness in the background.
Any other thoughts on Deep Rock Galactic?
Christopher and I have a hard time not thinking of them as gnomes.
Yeah,
like for whatever reason we are just like deeply like in our brains. It is gnomes fighting in tunnels and breaking, and not dwarves, which makes so much more sense. But in our head, it's gnomes.
Yeah, that's why the intro is like that. I just feel like I associate ground and like I don't know, like the earth with gnomes more than dwarves for some reason, I guess. And that's why I think about Deep Rock Galactic, because it is mining the earth and stuff like that. I don't know, but yeah, just it's a very silly game that I'll definitely give it a shot at some point with you, Anthony, preferably.
Nice.
But yeah, very nice. We're going to we have a few more games to talk about, but before we do that, we have a nice little mid segment that Walsh, of course, has cooked up for us. What's in the works, Walsh? Tell us about it.
All right, today we have a very special mid-segment, and as you guys already know, I will be talking about Wii Party, which, as a very fun party game with plenty of mini-games, I wanted to have all of us play a fun little mini-game for ourselves.
Ooh.
So, I'm actually going to... Oh, yeah. So, I have Uno cards right here. You guys can see.
Oh, well, all right. Well, you have to describe it to the audience.
Yes, I will be describing it to the audience. No.
Wait,
so,
what?
I have 5 different cards here for all 5 of us. 4 of them are, well, they're all Uno cards, and 4 of them are the number 1 of all different color, and 1 of them is a red skip card. Skylar is going to be our host for this minigame.
Hello.
Hi, Skylar.
And
Hello.
She will be mixing them up and then putting them face down. And then each of you will say which card you would like to flip over. And in a Mario Party or Wii Party-esque fashion, if you flip over the card that is the skip, then you are out. And we will go in Discord order.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Anthony. There's card number 1, card number 2,
3, 4, 5. Which one would you like?
Card number 4.
Card number 4. You get to stay in.
Woo!
Do you want me to shuffle it again?
No, leave it up.
Okay. Who's next?
We have Chris.
All right, Chris. You have 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Let's go 5.
Oh,
Chris is out.
I cannot tell you how happy I am to not be playing it because the pressure is killing me.
So I was we thought of this because of Mario Party or Wii Party S games where
yes.
Either they're a lot of the time they can be skill or sometimes they're just random luck. Like the Mario Party minigame where you gotta cut the strings or you have to not blow up the Bowser head. Yes. Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go on from where we were and we will start with Matt.
2.
This card right here.
Yes, that one.
Number 2. You are safe.
Yeah.
Now. Who's next? Kelsey. All right, Kelsey. You have some options. There's 1, 3, and 4.
I'm sorry. Could you give me the options one more time?
4, 3, and 1.
Wait. Okay. Wow. That's all right. I'm gonna go with 3. Oh,
you are in.
Okay.
Oh God.
All right. Matt has not seen these.
I've not.
So you have the option of 4 and 1, or 1 and 4.
Oh. I guess I'll go 1 and 4.
No.
I'll go 4.
And you are out.
Take out the red one.
Why?
Well, so that when they flip red, they can see that.
Okay.
For the people at home, I am also sharing a recording of when the cards go down, so that.
And he's being micromanaging.
All right. So left standing in the competition is Anthony, Matt, and Kelsey. Who will reign supreme in the card flip game?
I'm gonna shit myself.
All right, Anthony. You got the options of 1, 2, and 3.
Can I please have card number 2?
Yes, you may.
Oh.
Ooh.
Matthias.
Who's next?
Matt.
This is me.
All right, Matt. 1 or 3?
Can I pick 4?
No.
Then I'll pick 1.
Oh. So, Kelsey, you have the option of 3.
I don't even get a shuffle. I just automatically am done.
you gotta pick 3.
All right. That doesn't seem very fair, but it's fine.
All right.
I'm sorry. It's just the cards don't lie. The cards do not lie.
For the record,
Right.
For the record, this was a murder. This was a murder.
My fate is in Anthony's hands.
Yeah.
All right.
2
Can
cards.
I please have card number 2?
Yes!
So the winner is Matt.
Wait, let's flip
I
it.
did it.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
If you,
Just in case
if you
there's
flip that
another
and it was
skip.
a second X.
So that means that Anthony gets 10 coins. Matt gets 10 coins. Anthony gets 8. Kelsey gets 6.
No, it's 4.
I get 4,
and
and Chris gets 2.
Oh, because there's 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Woo!
So I should get 0 because I was yeeted out very, very quickly.
We're generous
I should
here.
get a fucking estate because I was murdered. I didn't even choose.
So
my
for the people
fate.
at home, we removed a safe card each time, so there were as many cards as players.
Fair enough. Is that so? Was that? So is that? So that is the mid segment, right? That is our fun little game.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
just want to make sure.
This was arguably the biggest failure of justice to happen today.
Oh, Jesus Christ,
Kelsey.
Stop.
Kelsey.
And here's the problem.
Oh, not that
I
kid
already
getting
have
old.
established what the date of this episode recording is, so people know very well what's happening. Alright.
Oh, not that kid getting old.
I was.
Right.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Alright.
Kelsey losing.
Yeah.
Before
I
we
said
move on
arguably. We could have the argument.
Before we move on to Wii Party, let me tell you about our sponsors. It has been 2 years since we started Team Chaos Productions, and we would not be where we are today without the help of Anchor. You've heard us talk about it all the time, but let me remind you, this completely free platform gives creators the tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your computer or phone. Once done, Anchor will distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more so you don't have to. You can also make some money on the episodes with no minimum listenership. It's everything you'd ever want in a podcasting platform, so download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Happy podcasting.
Hi, my name is Matthew J. Walsh, the host of the Over Heaven podcast, a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure podcast where we'll be looking at each episode of the newest animated Part 6, Stone Ocean. We'll have a variety of guests, from JoJo fans like myself to people who have absolutely no idea what's happening at all. Join us every Friday as we fill the void of JoJo Fridays and celebrate what makes this series great. Knowing what's going on is not mandatory to the listening experience, but might be recommended for a good laugh. Catch us on Twitter at OverHeavenPod or as part of the podcasting group Team Chaos Productions.
And we're back. Walsh, you just gave us a rousing party game where we all felt was very fair and was done properly. But now you must guide us into the party game in which this was all kind of based off of Wii Party. Please tell us about it.
You know what else is fair and proper? Wii Party.
Mm.
Now, unlike Mario Party or other party games, Wii Party is a absolute staple of its time. And I do believe, when we had the idea of talking about games that were underrated, I immediately thought of Wii Party, because it always felt like something that if we were to play it, or I went to a friend's house and they had it, it was always like, oh, we have to play that. But if I look online or I see people talking about games for the Wii that like, oh, you had to have this or you had to have that, it was never one that was necessarily brought up. Not only with having things like Board Game Island, which is, going across a board game-esque, Mario Party-esque place and playing mini games each time, but you had other games like Globetrot or Spin-Off, Swap Meet, Bingo. Yeah. I'm going to get the Spot the Sneak. So they had those bigger games that had mini games in between, but then they also had bigger games that you could play with just two people, whether they were like Balance Boat was a big one where you have to work together in order to keep a boat balanced on both sides like a seesaw, or Matchup where you have to that one wasn't just two, you could play up to four, but Matchup was you had to match up people wearing the same shirt, or you had Friend Connection where you would play with another person that way as well. And then there was like other games that were just considered house party games, which was weird but kind of fun, and they were anything from you had things like Time Bomb, where House Party was much more like working with the people around you. So you had Time Bomb or Word Bomb, where you would have to actually take the Wii remote and then pass it from one person to the next, whether it be like Time Bomb where you don't want to shake the Wii remote too much, or else it'll go off, or Word Bomb where you have to say a specific kind of word and then be judged by everybody else to see if that's correct. Or you had things like Animal Tracker or even Hide and Hunt, where you would actually, one person would hide the Wii remotes around the room and then bring the other people in, and then the Wii remotes would make noises and you would have to find them. It was just such a weird thing to be able to, I guess, like not only pull in your surroundings, but really make something that would get everybody there involved. And then there were the kind of mini-game-esque battles where, like Skylar had mentioned, other than, of course, your classic kind of free play or solo or battle kind of games, you had Spot the Sneak, where one person each minigame would have some sort of strange advantage in the minigame. So let's say if it was something like the Uno game that we just played, maybe when they move their cursor over the wrong card, it would vibrate a little bit differently, and they would be the only person that would be able to tell. And then everybody would have to guess who the sneak was during the minigame. And you have to now not only pretend like you weren't sneaking or not looking suspicious, and that was just a lot of fun as well. I think somehow I skipped over, there was also Friend Connection too, where you have one person that is asked, like, what's your favorite food or what's your favorite color? And you have certain options to choose from. And then the other three people have to guess which one they chose among those options and see how many points each person gets right. It was this strange amalgamation of so many different styles of party games and fun little things that you could play that it was very hard to get bored while playing it. And especially if you were playing with other people on the couch, it was always just a really fun time.
Yeah, I remember really liking playing it with the stuff that I did. I actually played Wii Party U a lot more than I played the original Wii Party. Very similar games, obviously, different modes in Wii Party U. The thing that I thought was unique about just the Wii Party in general was the how they incorporated mini games compared to Mario Party. Because in the regular boards in Wii Party, the minigame would be before the turn, and then depending on how well you did on the minigame determined how many dice you got to roll. So if you did better on the minigames, you got farther along on the board compared to someone who sucked at minigames. So just that difference of use of the minigames was really interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure, maybe somebody can answer for me how the Wii Party U implemented it, where I think you just got a whole extra dice, right?
Yeah, depending on the yes. There were a couple boards that I think was like you got some more dice. Was Wii Party, was that turn order then?
Yeah, the
original Wii Party.
Wii Party. Well, so the main mode for Wii Party was Board Game Island, and you would get one die for first place, second place, and third place. Each got an additional die, but the amount that were on those dies depended on how you rank. So like the first place got like the gold die, which had all 6 sides. While the second place got like, I think it was a silver die that had 3. It was 1, 2, and 3 on it. And then I think the bronze had 1 and 2. Whereas I think with the Wii Party U, I forget what the mode was called, but it was essentially you would roll a ton of dice. Like you'd roll like 12 different 12 different
bridge,
dice.
That one road, super long road.
Yes. Yeah, and that I think was also like if you play a certain amount of minigames, you get this amount of dice. And so that I think that was kind of how they changed it up with Wii Party U. I adore Wii Party. I'm not a party game person, not a big fan of a lot of party games necessarily, but or at least Mario Party. I've never been a big Mario Party person. I never really found it very fun across the board. A lot of the just personally, and this is nothing that I obviously a lot of people love them, and I'm not gonna sit here and be like they're bad because I think so. Like no, it just never vibed with me. But Wii Party, I don't know what it is about them that I don't know. I don't know what it is about Wii Party that just kind of stood out to me a lot more. Probably part of it was because I love the Miis so much. I love the Wii system so much that I think I just grew more attached to those. But I think I love the way that Board Game Island was formatted. That was my favorite mode in Wii Party, was just because it did put an emphasis on winning the mini games, and it did have some of like the RDM elements of Mario Party without it really feeling like a ton of bullshit as much as like the star system kind of works. And instead of basically collecting things as you go across the board, you just had to reach the top of the board, or in the Wii Party U case, like reaching the end of that long strip of road that was there. And I really love that. I love Spot the Sneak. I thought that was a lot of fun. Even though I used to like not really love deception games, or I don't like deception games, but for some reason Spot the Sneak was always like, okay, this is kind of a fun idea. I kind of like the gimmick that they're going with it.
It's more low stakes too.
Yeah, exactly. And I also I loved the hide and hunt where you would hide the Wii remotes around. Like I thought like that would added like the room element to it, like that literal house party section is what it was called. I really love that. The mini games were so good across the board. I cannot say enough about how much I love this game. I think about it all the time when I think about what the Wii era of video games meant to me. I am the person that will sit here and defend Wii music. It is like Wii Party to me is always going to be up there amongst my favorite games of all time. And it's because of this experiences that I had with the various modes, with the mini games. I played it all the time with Walsh. Played it all the time with a lot of our friends in the past. Like it means the world to me. And I could play it anytime again. Any other thoughts on Wii Party?
It's the better version of Mario Party because you could play with all the weird Miis that you've created.
Yeah, that's how I saw it. I don't know. Speaking, because I know, Walsh, you were a big fan of all the you love the Mario Party games, or at least you enjoy the newer Mario Party games. Do you like Wii Party more, or do you like more the Mario Party style?
I think I prefer the Wii Party style, where I don't think I have played. I've played Mario Party games, and it can feel like, man, I want to murder you now by the end of it. But I haven't had much of that experience with Wii Party. I think a lot of it feels a bit more fair. I mean, of course you have the mini games that might be up to luck, and you have the dice rolls that are up to luck, and but at some point it feels like everybody gets helped or gets they lose things at the same time,
Yeah.
While Mario Party can just be like, it maybe it feels a little bit more like everybody against the game and whoever wins. While Mario Party is a little bit like, we're all against the game, but also I'm going to maybe steal a star from you or steal your coins to get ahead. Which, if I end up screwing somebody else over, it's because of random luck and not because, I don't know, they were in first or because it's strategic for me to steal from you. Which is why a lot of the time when I have been playing Mario Party, it's been fun, especially when there is a computer that maybe I can pick on the whole time, you know, and not feel as bad about. But if I'm playing but if I'm playing Wii Party, that's not the case. There's not as much trying to sabotage other people. It's much more about just trying to get as far as you can. And then that was just the board game island part. There were a bunch of other parts to it as well. And when I think about a lot of the Mario Party games, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, I am the Mario Party expert.
No,
I've just been playing them much more recently from quarantine and having a Switch more recently. But the fact of Wii Party being something that had so many different game modes and so much to play on just that Wii game, while maybe a lot of other Mario Party games were like, yeah, there's like 4 or 5 boards and like 3 of them are good, maybe 1 is good, and you do whatever. Like fuck being like, oh man, I get to play as my favorite Mario Party, my favorite Mario character. I could play as me.
Yeah.
Me.
Matt the me.
The me.
Yeah.
Or I mean, or whatever character that you found, like on like the Check Me Out channel or whatever the fuck, just searching for random characters to play as. Like you could just do any. I could go on forever about the Wii, but I agree with everything that you said.
The weirdest thing about the Check Me Out channel was seeing a ton of creations of specifically Mariah Carey and Michael Jackson, so that you could get them to sing "I'll Be There" in Wii Music.
God.
Huh. I think that's a good place.
There's a lot of weirdness with that channel. So
did I play Wii Party, Chris? I'm relying on you as my sibling for my memory. Did I play Wii Party?
I don't believe so.
Did we play Wii Party together?
I don't. You might have. I just don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think you were big on Wii Party.
I just remember I was perpetually shamed by Wii Fitness, but I remember Wii Party.
I think everyone was.
Yeah. I remember specifically the trauma and disordered eating that spurred from Wii Fitness, but I don't specifically remember Wii Party. Okay, just check.
It reached me into adulthood too, actually.
Yeah, I know.
We pulled it out again, and they're like, obese!
Yeah, unless you are like a malnourished Victorian child, they were like,
no,
you
even
are
then,
obese.
Even then, they're like, you're obese.
Yeah, they'd be like, you're on the heavy side.
Or you'd like, and you would like put like, you would be like, this thing is broken, and then you would put like a just another heavy object on it, and they'd be like, it's just a little overweight. It's like, go fuck yourself.
That's my underrated game.
And then,
as my little guest,
Yo, Wii Fit,
my underrated game is
in Wii Fit Plus, they let you weigh your dog.
what?
So that
they
could
let you
also
like make a
shame
dog,
your
and you had to hold your dog on the fucking balance beam and weigh your dog.
Speaking of shaming dogs,
and then they said your dog is obese.
Let's move on to let's go even further back. All right, let's go back to little old me, in the early 2000s, or not even early 2000s, for like decades after that too, where with my PlayStation 2, I got a lot of mileage out of that thing, and specifically with 3 games: Battle for Bikini Bottom, Simpsons Hit and Run, and a little game known as Dog's Life. And this is a game that I'm still like I'm still kind of surprised that I never hear anyone talk about, because I can understand. I think out of all the games that we're talking about today, this one's probably properly rated, but
Wait, what is the rating?
Well, if we're gonna actually do specific numbers, the Metacritic is 64, which is not great. But if I'm gonna, dig deep here and try to give you my best defense of this game, I'm gonna do it right now because I adore this game. This is one of my childhood games that I could go back to any chance that I see, in terms of just wanting to have a game to explore and just chill out and just have a good time with. So Dog's Life is, I guess, it's described as an action-adventure game. It has some puzzle elements, kind of has a platforming element, but generally it's an adventure game.
It's a first-person RPG.
Yeah, RPG, dungeon crawler, Metroidvania. So you are Jake, which Wikipedia describes as a flatulent American foxhound, who is just a farmhouse dog, who is just from a small town and is who has a crush on a Labrador Retriever named Daisy. And one day, all of a sudden, dog catchers come in and capture both Daisy and him. But before they pull away, Jake's dog carrier ends up falling out of the back of the truck, and Daisy basically gets away. And so it's his job, in his heart, he believes that he has to go and find Daisy, while all the humans are too dumb to realize that she's gone. And so the goal of the game is to explore this town or at least in the early part of the game, is to explore this town of Clarksville, talk to people, try to figure out what's going on as to why Daisy was just randomly kidnapped. And you also have to collect these bones that have been kind of scattered throughout the map, essentially. And these bones will give you passage to later elements of the game. And you start to realize like that there are other dogs that have also gone missing, and you start to kind of piece together the mystery as to like, okay, what is going on here. There's a lot of very interesting gameplay elements to this. There is a one of the core mechanics of the game is something called smell-o-vision, where you go into a like first person. This is a third person game, but when you enter smell-o-vision, you enter this first person's perspective, which kind of shows like this color blind view of like this viewpoint as if you're looking at the world through a dog's eyes. What you do see, the colors that you do see are these smells that are these like smell I don't know, auras, I guess. I don't know how you would describe them, that are different colors, and you collect those things. And when you collect a certain amount, you end up playing that color's minigame. So if you collect the green sense, you get to play a racing minigame where you run around and try to collect snacks to get to the finish line. There's a yellow scent, which is a peeing minigame, which is kind of like it kind of reminds me of that game on the Clubhouse games where it's the boxes where you complete the boxes to like what's the name of that game? Someone's got to know what I'm talking about, where it's the
say again,
where it's the lot we have to complete the lines, and I'm doing such a bad job describing this. You have to fill out the lines in order to claim a box.
Oh yeah, that I think it's just called like either lines or boxes or something like that. I know.
All right, so it's
about.
The
you play it with pencil and paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the P version of that. So right? that's what's that. But it's essentially, so there's all these different mini games that you play, and you do that in order to earn bones. Also, you are facing another computer-controlled dog during those mini games, and the first time that you beat them, you actually get to take control of the dog. And this, to me, what I thought was the really cool element of this game, where when you do beat a dog in a mini game, you end up taking control of them, and then you can use that dog's kind of like special ability or what they're good at to kind of complete a mission that will also earn you a bone. So for example, like you can beat a sheepdog in a mini game, and then all of a sudden you take control of that sheepdog, and you can use it to kind of like herd the sheep that have been like released from their pen, and like bring them back to their pen, and the farmer will give you a bone because of that. Or I think there's another one where there's like a dog that's very good at like running on ice. And so when you beat them, you use them to like kind of chase birds that have been bothering this diner that's by the lakeside. And on the lake is frozen over, so the dog can easily like run across that. And so there's a lot of interesting elements to this game. It's also just so absurd. It's also some of the worst voice acting you'll ever hear, but I gotta give the person credit who did most of the voice acting, because I've talked about this fact before, I'm sure, in front of you guys, but according to the Guinness World Records Gamers Edition 2009, Dog's Life holds the world record for the most video game voiceovers recorded by one person in the game. Shout out to Carrie Shale, who voiced 32 characters for the game.
Wow.
It is always going to be a big part of my childhood. I enjoyed the crap out of it. And Kelsey also played a lot of this game. I want to give Kelsey a chance to speak.
Nothing has sense compared to Dog's Life. Like, it's just, there's nothing quite like it. The humor in it is so borderline adult. Like, it's so sophisticated and yet such potty humor. Because it's a dog, so that's like their entire life is butts and farts and whatever. So, like, I don't know. It just, I loved the narrative and the storyline to it. The gameplay. Now the gameplay is straight trash. Like now, retrospectively, it is complete trash. The quality is trash, but yet it has this almost like time capsule feel and nostalgic comfort that I wish that somebody ported it at some point. I don't know if ported is like the right terminology. To become a port, but I don't know if ported is like
it's
a
definitely
verb,
been emulated, I'm sure. Like, I'm sure you could find an emulator of it somewhere.
But for, like, the PC, not, like, for playing on a console.
No,
I feel like it is a very console-specific game, personally.
Yes.
Like, I played it on the PlayStation. I would want to replay it on the PlayStation.
Yep.
But that is right up there with, like, the original American Idol PlayStation game. Like, those two went hand in hand as far as, like, absolutely trash fire games that yet were so good and so worth it and hold such a special place in my heart. So I'm so glad that you spoke about this, because smell-o-vision is burned into my brain. Like, burned into my brain. Like, I see it. I close my eyes and I can see the purple and orange and blue gas bubbles that you have to collect. Like, it's fantastic. And did I like space out when you were talking? Did you talk about the thing where you could just pick things up in your mouth and throw them off of like buildings and shit?
No.
Okay. Because in one point you end up in a town where it's like a town center, and you can go into the butcher shop and steal meat. I remember that part. Mm-hmm. But there was like a Doberman Pinscher who was like a boss. Like, the bosses in the game were like other dogs. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I definitely spaced out. But the egg, remember when you had to collect the eggs?
Yes, yep.
And, there were children, at one point there was a minigame with children, but the town center, like, all these different little towns, I liked the ice lodge. The ski lodge one.
Yes.
Because there was a whole, what I think that is a huge feat.
Lake Minnewawa is the name of it.
Lake Minnewawa. What I liked about that was, do you remember the part where you had to go on the ice? But, like, they actually, like, mechanically made it really difficult to navigate on the ice. Like, you really
I was just talking about that with the dog.
Oh my fucking god, what is my problem? I was listening too. I'm so sorry. But
no, it's okay.
So I'm just gonna stop talking, because I'm probably just gonna say everything that you said. But
no, it's okay.
Wasn't it? I don't remember how it ended.
I'm like, totally good with sport. I don't think anyone's gonna play this. So
but like,
I'm
wasn't
totally
it?
Good
There
with
was
spoilers.
there was like a dog. They were gonna make like dog food, but out of dogs.
Okay.
Or something like that. Okay.
So it was specifically, so there's a character in the game that you hear over the radio. So that at some points in the game you can actually enter houses, and there's radios that you hear, and you hear like the small town radio like banter back and forth. That was just ridiculous, silly stuff. But one of the things you kept on hearing are these commercials from this woman named Miss Peaches, and Miss Peaches is a cat food. Like, she sells cat food, and she's I guess the queen of cat food in this universe. She basically is paying these dog catchers to gather up all these dogs and bring them to her evil factory so she can turn the dogs into cat food. And so there is an ending sequence to the game where you are trying to free a bunch of dogs out in like the yard outside the factory, and then there is a sequence that happens at the very end where you are actually in the factory, and your job is to activate and shut down the entire machine as much as possible, because Daisy's actively going down the conveyor belt. So you have to figure out a way to like stop her from turning into cat food. It's fucked. Like, it is so fucked, this entire like plot point. But it ends in, I think, what is just truly just special in a special way. In you free Daisy, everything's great. Then Miss Peaches comes out with like a shotgun saying that she's gonna kill both of you, and then what you do is that you turn around and fart right in her fucking face. That smells so rancid, so bad, that she falls over the side onto the conveyor belt, and she gets turned into cat food. It's amazing. It's insanity.
That's what I thought I remembered. Like, I didn't want to.
Yes.
I didn't want to like Yeah, but it is really like such a niche, crazy, bizarre thing. Like it's great though. It's beautiful.
It falls right into what I love most about, and I love exploring games and collectathon games, and those that it hits on those fronts. But yeah, the game looks terrible now. The platforming is not great in that game. But
can I mention one character that has not left my fucking mind since I experienced him when you played through it, Chris?
Yes, please go ahead.
There's the one scientist who has the most German fucking name ever, and I looked it up. It's Ludwig von Schnitzelmarker.
Right, yes. I do remember that.
He speaks with like just the most American trying to do a German accent voice ever.
Yes.
And the fact that his name is Ludwig von Schnitzel.
Yes.
Shit. It's the dumbest shit ever. He has not left my mind. He has not allowed me to have peace.
Yes, he wanted his rocket to go up into the air, but then it breaks apart in 4 pieces, and you have to go collect them. That was it. There is a variety of that. The one that has not left my mind is in that same area. There's a guy that lost his axe, and once you give him his axe, he does not shut the fuck up about it, because all he does is, I love my axe, every single time you walk by him.
Oh my god, Chris, that was such a good
really
impression, because I forgot about that, and then when you said that was like my last brain cell from 2007.
Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay!
Oh
like,
my god, that's so
crap.
good! That is so good!
That's all he does, though, and it's
You're right.
It's seared. It's seared into my brain. We have to move on. But...
Oh, okay. All right.
No. Finish what you were gonna say.
I was just gonna. I hope that you didn't already fucking say it, but wasn't there something about the guy with his boat? In the original first area.
Yes, the guitar guy, guy who plays the guitar. I have yet to say anything about that. Yeah.
You don't have to. I remember it very vaguely. I haven't played it in a long time, but. That's fine. I just was. Yeah. It's a very good. It is like so worth it if you just want a quirky storyline, and if you want to experience that death fart at the end, it's just fantastic.
Yeah. And just one very last thing I just know, because I think, Anthony just posted something in our chat that just reminded me of it. This was developed by Frontier Developments, the same fucking people who made Roller Coaster Tycoon and Thrillville and Planet Coaster. It's the same. I think it's like I don't know. It's like it was like a studio within Frontier. So I don't know if it's the exact same people that is now currently working on all those other games. But my god, I hope they have the rights to it, and I hope they bring it in. I really want something. I want something else from this IP. I doubt we'll ever get it, but oh my god, it would make me so happy to see something else from this absurd game. But alas, we move on from dogs farting on everyone to us making homes for dogs. Specifically, in Animal Crossing, Happy Home Designer for the 3DS to close us out. Kelsey, go ahead.
Thank you. So I wanted to talk about this for my underrated games, especially within the context of the recent DLC that is dropped for Animal Crossing New Horizons, the Happy Home Paradise Planning DLC. So the original, this is to me a sequel. But I know that there are a lot of people who are like newer to the Animal Crossing series with New Horizons. Like I got a ton more people are now very familiar with Animal Crossing. So the game just prior to New Horizons we know is New Leaf. And New Leaf was Chris's favorite version of Animal Crossing, I think, until the recent New Horizon update. Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah, I think you could say that's a pretty accurate summation.
But just because up until the most recent update with New Horizons, we all had our gripes and issues and felt like there was big gaping void holes in the game. Most of them have been filled to the extent that they can be. But just for some context, so New Leaf, which is the last, besides the DLC, the last Animal Crossing game that was released for the 3DS platform, received an 88 out of 100 from Metacritic overall for the game. Scored 9.6 out of 10 for IGN. Nintendo Life is like nearly 10 out of 10 stars. And its legacy, like Polygon named it one of the decade's best games for when it was released. Like, it was a very well received game, but not broadly received like New Horizons ended up being with the Switch, and with we all know that Nintendo caused the pandemic so that people would play the game and stay inside. So right. That's they bolstered their numbers there. So Happy Home Designer was a game that came out as I feel like calling it a mini game. It's not like literally a mini game like you would play inside of another game, but a more condensed, smaller version of an Animal Crossing game in which, like Chris said, you are specifically targeted to just the main part of the game is designing homes. But it expanded upon the mechanics that were already existent in New Leaf, in that you were given different ways to design the homes, you were given more bandwidth, and you were given a ton more catalog to work with, and you were also able to design the outside of the buildings in addition to the inside of the homes. And it took place in this kind of like city/suburban-y downtown area, where you were also given buildings and businesses to design, both the outside and inside. And it just was, I felt, to me, was everything that I cherished most about the Animal Crossing series in a roided up and then released on a single platform. Just the expansiveness for which you could play, but it did receive some criticisms. A lot of people felt that it fell short. I don't know if that it was that the expectation was that it was going to have a fuller narrative and a little bit more to do like the previous Animal Crossing games. I think that people felt trapped by it a little bit based on things that I saw. And I guess if you were not somebody who cherished the home design feature of Animal Crossing, that it wouldn't have kept your attention as much as it kept mine, because I love the home design feature. I spend literal hours on a single house designing. So overall, as far as like reception is concerned for Happy Home, it received a 66 on Metacritic, which that is specifically why I asked you how Dog's Life did with Metacritic, because even though Happy Home was largely a very polished game, it only scored 2 points higher than Dog's Life, which is just interesting to me. And then got pretty, like, not great reviews across the board. IGN gave it an 8 out of 10, so that's not terrible. But even for Nintendo Life, I think it got, like, just barely 7 out of 10 stars. So it definitely, people felt that, though it had, like, the freedom to be creative, people felt that it was almost intimidating how much content was available, that you kind of got lost in it, meaning I guess the catalogs, and what you can do with them. But otherwise, people felt like it didn't really have a challenge and was overall kind of boring, and they fell out of it. I loved it. I spent hours in it, and I still think it's one of the most fun DS games. I think it might be, other than New Leaf, I think that it probably was the DS game that I gave the most hours to. Besides maybe one of like the Herbs 3D games, 3DS games. But then, so our current DLC that just came out for New Horizons, Paradise Planning, Happy Home Paradise, just in comparison, just real quick, for Happy Home Designer, the original for New Leaf, some criticisms, a lot of people said that they wish that Nintendo had just released it as DLC, as opposed to its own standalone game. They felt that by releasing it as a standalone game, that they put more, the precedent was there for it to be more than it really was, which people feel that it fell short of. But it must be that Nintendo listened to that criticism, because then they just released Happy Home Paradise as a DLC for purchase to lump in with the New Horizons game. And contrastly to how people felt about Happy Home Designer for New Leaf, New Horizons earned like phenomenal reception across the board for the most part. It got a 90 out of 100 on Metacritic, and almost completely full stars and full value down the board for other publications. I'm not even going to name all of them because they're all pretty much 9 out of 10. And Happy Home Paradise earned an 80 on Metacritic. So people seem to be receiving Happy Home Paradise a lot more, and it does feel like a fuller game than Happy Home Designer did, but I think that just comes with learning from previous releases on the company side, and also having a different kind of platform to work with, and probably knowing their audience a little bit more this time around. And there's also a ton more people playing it. And I also feel like some criticisms we had was for New Horizons, that we felt like some of the home design stuff felt lacking or limited, and I think that Happy Home Paradise is giving us access into that huge catalog that we felt like we had in Happy Home Designer, the original one. But so Happy Home Designer is my underrated game, because it was literally underrated for what I feel was the quality of gameplay and the kind of game that you got with it, and I had a lot of fun with it. So
yeah, it was a really neat game. I liked the little bit of I played. I didn't like max out the game. I kind of just did like the story, and I kind of stopped playing after that. But it was fun. I really enjoyed like making all the different buildings in the town. Really liked just the weird requests that some people would have. I was like, oh, this seems fun to make. I'm gonna do a good job of this.
Yeah. And then I think I literally played the game in full, the narrative, and then as many as the people as I could play. I think I restarted the game like twice. I think I played through it 3 times, because that's how much I loved it.
Pretty replayable, because you can do different shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can do whatever you want with each of the buildings, and they really just give you so much freedom of expression. So much. Like, I kind of get irritated with games that are too hand-holdy. Like, even in I know that you haven't played the DLC, right, yet?
I'm not yet, no.
So, personally, a little bit of a criticism I have is I feel like they're extremely hand-holdy with the tutorials up front, but I also feel like I am impatient and want to just get to it, and I know what they're going to tell me already because I played Happy Home so hard, and it is very similar how they, like, brought it over, but I could see where other people would need that, but I'm also like, oh my god, just let me do it. Shut up, Nico. Kicks him off the pier. Let me
Not
fucking
the monkey.
design.
Not the little lemur. He's
All
just
right,
a little guy. He's just a little guy.
He wouldn't get kicked if he didn't remind me to go and talk to my boss every day. It's like, yes, that's the plan. That's why I came here. But I'm glad that you brought up the New Horizons DLC, because I really liked Happy Home Designer, and I was so excited for a lot of that stuff to migrate over. I'm like, did they forget? But when they brought it, like, not only did they bring it back, they brought back so much more. And as you said, it really expanded the catalog. I am so happy with the stuff that they brought and implemented over. It completely redeemed the game for me.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I've been on the record saying, like, that's the decorating is not necessarily the main reason why I love Animal Crossing. I love Animal Crossing for the characters, and I think really that's why it's been redeemed on that front, because of Cap'n and Brewster and all that. But talking about Happy Home specifically, I actually did enjoy Happy Home Designer. I really I did spend a good amount of time in it. I think I did end up beating it as well. I don't think I continued after the story, but I definitely had my fun with decorating the homes. I remember the music hall specifically, decorating that. I think there was the school. I think there was like a doctor's
hospital.
Office. Yeah, hospital. Yeah,
grocery store or cafe. One of those.
Yeah, like I loved all those elements to it. And it was really fun to do that. And so getting a chance to now experiencing a New Horizons, I'm not as experienced with Happy Home Designer. Like, I don't remember a ton from the 3DS version, so when I saw like something that they would introduce, I'd be like, oh my god, Kels, like they added this and that, and she's like, oh yeah, that was already in Happy Home Designer. I was like, oh okay, so they just carried that over. But like that just kind of goes to show, like, they really had so many really great ideas from the original 3DS game. And I always think about that game as, like, you know, because we went through that time period of how hard I was waiting for an Animal Crossing, how much I was desperate for a new Animal Crossing game and waiting for it and being so excited about, you know, getting a new one and seeing the announcement for Happy Home Designer, I was just like, okay, I was not thrilled by it, but I was happy that it existed, and the fact that it made so many people happy and it gave people like this nice, like, hey, we're not gonna get to a new Animal Crossing yet, but once once we get there, hopefully you'll be finished with this game, or hopefully this will at least tide you over until we get to the new one. And I think it did a really good job on that front. We will not talk about the other game that they released in between, but
what other game?
No, this just doesn't exist. Amiibo Festival. Oh fuck! Sorry, it slipped. But
oh god,
but
gotta put it back in the container.
gotta ship it away. Ship it as far away as possible. But no, yeah, I'm loving this DLC as well. I'm loving the characters that are associated with it. I think that's why I love the most too about it, because I feel like, I enjoy the different villager personalities in the main game, but they could definitely get stale after a while in all the games. And that's just not New Horizons or anything like that. After a while, you're like, okay, I've heard this line from another villager already because they have the same personality type. But what's so nice about Happy Home Designer is that you get some of these villagers that have some really interesting requests, and I only have the one that I can think of right now is actually from the new one, the Paradise one, where there is and this is one that Kelsey was telling me about, how I forget who it was, but they just asked for a house that was just filled with toilets. Or specifically that it was that toilets was like the main element of the home.
No. He's the fancy lion. I can't remember his name right now.
Lionel.
It is Lionel. Okay.
Lionel wanted toilets?
Yeah,
is that a throne joke?
No, see, I guess maybe. That's actually the only thing I can think of that would make relevant sense. But you walk past them and they have the bubbles, and he's like, you know what? You could just never have enough toilets. And then, like, when you actually sit down with them, it gives you, like, the preview of the 3 items they want in your house, and it was, like, 2 different kinds of toilets, and then I think, like, a sink. Which is alarming if he's categorizing a sink as a toilet, I guess. But, but it was like, and it panicked me. I spent so long on that one because I felt so restricted by this concept, but I felt like I had to conquer and get it over with.
Yeah,
amazing.
It was, but I mean, his thought process isn't wrong though. To be fair, I mean, you surely can't have enough toilets in the house.
Depends on how much fruit you eat. In the game and in real life.
Yeah, basically.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. I just have one other thing to add, just because I can't actually find data on this, and I don't know if there ever would be, because I don't know. But just curious. I'm curious to see long term if we end up getting sales data for the Happy Home Paradise DLC. Like, I want to know how many people actually go to the extent of purchasing and downloading the DLC who actually own the original game, because I have sales data for the other. So I have sales data for New Leaf and Happy Home Designer, and then New Horizons. So New Leaf, as of March of this past year, 2021, had sold 12.93 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best selling 3DS games. Right. Happy Home Designer, they literally didn't track sales records past 2016. And I don't know why, but that's like the last update I have about it. As of March 2016, it sold a little over 3 million copies. So I don't fuck around with math. So you do the percentages. But as of March of this year, 2021, New Horizons sold about 32.5 million units. So I'm curious to see how well Happy Home Paradise does if more people... Like, I would just be curious to know if more people end up.
I would guarantee that there definitely is going to be more people that play this than played Happy Home Designer.
But I mean, like, I guess by
that's
percentages.
the nature of the Switch. Yes.
Yeah, like, I like in relative to how many people buy the main game, I would be curious to see how many people actually... But you're probably right. I feel like just general broad interest in the Animal Crossing series, that it has now touched on so many different demographics of people who've loved it, that I feel like you're probably right. But I just would be curious to see ultimately, based on like relatively speaking to how many people owned the main game, how many went for the DLC for the design aspect of it. Because I do feel like the design aspect of the main game was really lacking until this point.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be kind of hard to know the specific sales details, because there's also going to be a good chunk of people who did end up buying the Nintendo Online, which the DLC is packaged in with.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, I'm not going to
It might be hard to talk about it from an individual point of view, but I'm sure there's going to be someone tracking it.
I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I just would be curious.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
But that's it.
Yeah, very, very, very nice. Happy Home Designer is kick ass. And I think with that, we're almost done. But Walsh, did you have a question?
Yeah, I because we've spoken about both today, I wanted to ask you guys: would you rather have to eat Animal Crossing villager or a Pokemon?
Jesus fucking
Why
Christ.
would you do this?
Because they're animals.
So I have an immediate response.
Yes.
What? No, I'm just kidding. The immediate response is, I am more inclined to say that I would eat a Pokemon, because for me, I have not invited a Pokemon over my house to have a tea party. I have not designed a home for a Pokemon. I have not wished a Pokemon happy birthday and celebrated with them. I have not pissed a Pokemon off to the point where they won't talk to me. Right. I have not accidentally hit a Pokemon with an axe. So I feel and I've had full conversations. I feel like Animal Crossing villagers are inherently more sentient up front.
They're fucking people.
They're people. They're furries.
Would you rather cannibalism or eat livestock? That's the difference here. The answer is Pokemon.
All I'm gonna say is there's literally an Animal Crossing villager that is completely made of fast food.
That's true.
Oh, and she
also
makes
true.
my stomach turn.
I also wanted to say too, you can keep in mind that yes, these villagers are sentient, but maybe is there a very specific villager who's just a total asshole that you would not mind eating?
No.
Even that dude, it's a fucking person.
Yeah, I feel like I cannot, I feel like I'm a little bit squeamish over the fact that I feel like, and I could be wrong by this interpretation, that I feel like in the Pokemon universe, that Pokemon are largely subservient and are treated on some levels as they're just tools for the trainers, or they can have more a relationship with them, but it's still almost like a relationship you'd have with your pet.
Yeah.
Worst come to worst, if you had to, would you eat your dog?
No.
Right.
Would you rather eat your beloved pet or your dick neighbor?
Alright, well, actually, in that perspective, I'd eat my fucking neighbor, but that's not the point. That's
That's not the general point I'm going with.
That is not the point that we're working with here, and fuck you for getting us to this place.
I mean,
this is a weird way to end this podcast, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir. What was it, a few days ago, I went down an entire rabbit hole of if it was ethical to eat Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, can I just really... Okay, I got it, Chris.
I've yet to respond to this at all. And I don't know.
Never mind.
I don't even know how to respond. I think Pokemon's the right answer.
Okay,
but you bring up some good points about the Animal Crossing characters. Zucker looks tasty AF.
Really quick, really quick. I wrote to my mom got her booster shot a few days ago, and she's been really sick. So I just wrote to her to check in. Earlier today, I was having a complete crisis. So I was like, "Are you still doing okay?" She goes, "Yes." Are you? I go, "Yes, we're still recording." And Walsh just proposed the question: would you rather be forced to eat an Animal Crossing character or a Pokemon? And without missing a beat, Mom's response is: Pokemon are high in fat, and Animal Crossing characters give you diarrhea. So,
okay.
There we go, everyone. That is the final answer.
Wait, is it quote unquote good fat? Like an avocado?
She just said high in fat, so we're not. And I don't necessarily want to ask because I don't really know where this is gonna go. So
wait, but is it good diarrhea or
like avocado diarrhea or like butter diarrhea?
For so long, we've wondered what dodos taste like.
And that's a wrap.
Thank you guys all so much for listening to this episode of the Gaming Coop.
I think Pokemon tastes salty.
Probably, yeah. That sounds accurate.
I think that we've slightly broken Christopher's psyche here tonight. He sounds broken.
I don't know. I mean, look, it's an important conversation. I just don't know how to go about it myself. But I appreciate the hard questions.
Characters taste like cake.
Depends.
No, that's just like the vibe they give off.
Like you cut into them and it's like those videos where it's just cake.
Yeah, they're cake. But if you cut into like a Pokemon, you know they be out and about. They're all dirty. They probably taste all salty and sweaty.
Huh.
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm asking about the good fat, bad fat.
We can't end this.
This has
We're
been
never gonna
the
end.
Gaming
That's okay.
Coop, your
Hey,
favorite
listen.
place to talk about sneaky hits, anonymous assassinations, stealth attacks, surprise ambushes, invisible islands, and just sneaky hits in general.
Yeah, and the nutritional value of a Pokemon. Yeah. So if she doesn't read it in like the next 20 seconds, we can just move on.
Okay. Well.
Oh wait, she read it. She read it.
All right. Well, okay. So in the meantime, while we wait for this response, let me just get this in. Next episode is going to be our GOTY episode. So the game that we enjoyed the most playing this year, whatever it is, whether it is a game that came out this year or a game that came out in the past, but is the one that you enjoyed the most playing this particular year, that is what we're bringing to the table next time. So if you at home are listening and want to send in a response, you can do so by tweeting at us at the Gaming Coop or using the hashtag the Gaming Coop, and then maybe hashtag GOTY. I don't know, something like that. But go. That's the last episode of the year. Will be all about our personal games of the year. Kelsey, did you get a response from our mother?
I did. So I said I shared your feedback and they want to know if it's good fat like avocados or bad fat. And her response was good fat because they bring happiness, but you will have gas. So I said, thank you very much. And she said, you're welcome.
So either way, it's either you have gas or diarrhea. So you just choose.
I'd rather get gas.
Yeah.
I'd rather get gas. That's an easy decision.
All right. So I guess we're all eating Pokemon. Fry up the grill and good ball.
Yeah.
Get him, Pikachu.
That's not even the right podcast, guys. Thank you all so much for listening and game on. Please don't eat any of these things.
Pokemon, they're not real, so.
This Switch card tastes weird.
The closest thing you can get to eating a Pokemon is like a rat.
Yeah, don't eat a rat. Maybe don't eat a rat. The Gaming Coop is brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Follow us on Twitter at The Gaming Coop or follow our other work at Team Chaos Pods.